Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. It's 2022 and we have something very special for today's review, and that is the long-awaited A7 IV, the Sony A7 IV or Alpha 7 Mark IV. But to make it even more special, I do have something else with me today, mostly to compare image qualities when it comes to that 10-bit 422. And that is the Cinema Line FX3 paired with a monstrous Scene Prime T1.5 50mm cinema lens. So going into this review, I only had 7 days, and we do keep things very tight here on the channel. So I will try my best to go through things in sequence about my thoughts and my experience and my discoveries with the A7 Mark IV, and certain things that I was unhappy about and very pleased about, expecting what the camera was made to do, and just my general expectations before I had the chance to hold on to this camera. So without further ado, I'm gonna start with the design. Right, so I have been testing out this camera for the last 30 minutes or so, just going through the menu, and I mean, it's very nicely updated compared to like the previous menu, because the last menu just didn't make sense at all. But it's nice that Sony did try in making it slightly more, I don't know, user-friendly, but it's still very complicated in a lot of ways, because just look at that. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's constant. So yeah, my first thoughts of this camera, I love the ergonomics. The ergonomics of this camera, it fits perfectly in my hand, like mostly because of how the grip feels here and where all the buttons are located, and just the buttons itself, it feels more solid than the one on the A7 III. I've been a continuous user of the A7 III for the last 3 years now, so this is a direct comparison of what the predecessors were. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. As for ports are concerned, you still get the microphone input, headphone jack, USB-C and multi-input, but most importantly, the newest addition to this A7 IV is a full HDMI input. I mean, if you guys really want to see how much I actually like this camera, I even gave it the winner for the hybrid of 2021. So here we are in 2022, finally being able to review this camera, and I am stunned. I'm truly stunned. Sony did say that that this camera, the one that I have in my hand right now, is still a pre-production unit, so it's still going to be slower in a lot of aspects of the way it functions. And if I set it into high burst mode, I mean, just listen to this. Yeah, that doesn't sound right, because it should be faster than that, because right now I'm guessing is doing like 5 frames per second, then 10 or even less. That does not sound like 10 frames per second. So yeah, there's definitely some software bugs that needs to be flattened out, but I'm here not to try out most of the photo capabilities or still photography, but more so on the video aspects of it, mainly because of that 10-bit 422. So I want to give it a try on how it actually compares to an 8-bit and a 10-bit, and also coming from that 33 megapixel sensor. So yeah, there's a big difference here, and I can't wait to get into it. Right, I think I'm choosing the worst time ever to shoot this because of the weather is just relentless. It's been raining, but it won't stop us from making reviews. And we are here in Genting Highlands, mostly trying to test out the A7 IV's low light performance. But I guess all of us know already that Sonys do really well in low light. I mean, that's not new knowledge to people who watch this channel, knowing what cameras are capable of. And Sonys have always been capable at doing low light. We've heard that many times before. So it doesn't change in how I feel about this camera, because from these footages itself, that 10-bit 422, it just looks beautiful. Yes, you do get the 33 megapixel in this Mark IV, but unless you're pixel peeping, you might not tell the difference unless you're cropping it at 400%, which I doubt anybody would end up doing for their work. But that is a possibility for it to come into the new lineups, like the A7S IV, probably down the line within 4 years or 3 years from now. They might just do that because that's how companies progress. That's how we get better tech and better cameras. And I think it's because of that I love these baseline cameras most, because they're sitting in between. They're not so catered for videos, not so catered to photography. But one thing that I did have a problem with is the fact that you can't shoot S&Q mode without CF Express Type A cards. People who watch this channel, I think you already know that these cards cost a lot. I mean, I think at 128 gigs, just 128 gigs alone will set you back around 1,000 ringgit. So imagine paying that much just for a memory card. But aside from that, you don't actually get the value for money if you're looking at that standpoint. But I am looking backwards instead of looking forwards. So probably that's my problem. But at the same time, why is it so expensive now? And why can't just as normal SD cards be compatible for S&Q mode or anything below V90 cards? I think that's why it says in the notification of this, when every time I do try to pop it into S&Q mode. But I am only on my 4th day experience using this camera, and I guess the whole entirety of this video is supposed to be my experience with the A7 IV for the next 10 days. I might find out other things about this camera, and I'm not sure what else I might find out aside from it being a beautiful video camera and how it can perform as what you expect it to. Aside from that, I have not discovered anything yet. But if I do, probably in like the next clip, you'll know what I mean. But for now, I need to get out of this cold because I'm freezing. Right, so regarding to the S&Q mode I just said earlier, I have gotten some confirmation by Sony, and they say if you want to shoot in S&Q mode with file formats of XAV CSI 4K, meaning like the highest setting for 4K, a record frame rate of 25 frames per second or 30 frames per second, you will need a CF Express Type A card. The A7 IV will not let you record in this specific format with the V90 card. So basically it's asking for V90 cards and above. Now obviously there is a big disparity between 8-bit and 10-bit. How those data transfers might be different, or reading speeds might be different, which is a shame because, well, as photographers or videographers, we're all using basic SD cards, so just knowing that fact is kind of a letdown because I just have way too many SD cards. I was hoping to get some official advice from Sony. Probably it's something I missed out or didn't really understand when it came to the menu, but it's just a shame. We can't use normal SD cards for S&Q mode. Right, so we are shooting in S-Cinetone at the moment, and mostly trying to see how big of a difference does it make using a cinema camera and a hybrid camera of the A7 Mark IV. So I think it will help in terms of color grading, makes it a lot easier using S-Cinetone as compared to S-Log 2. But as for high dynamic range, I think it does well. I think it does pretty well. I am currently using the FX3 to shoot this right now, and I'm going to switch it to the A7 Mark IV. And now we are shooting with the A7 Mark IV. So yeah, I think it looks kind of similar. If I were to blow this up and look at it at 400%, then maybe I might see some differences, but I guess not too much. Yeah, again, image quality, very impressive. Right, so we are here at Chrysler's studio. Chrysler here is, he's a videographer as well, but he he's really good at coloring, and I'm not much of a colorist, so I do want to have professional hands dealing with these footages in comparison of the FX3 and the A7 IV. So yeah, let's go through this process of editing the colors. But I must note, I kind of did a mistake of messing up with the white balance from, I think it was the FX3. Yeah, I'm sorry guys, I messed up with the FX3 white balance. I mean, I didn't have 2 tripods with me on that day, so I had to make do with using 1 tripod, so that's the result that we have today. But it's workable footage, right?
You have to match Jun, susah bro. Damn susah bro.
Okay lah, we don't have to completely match it, because like I did after all mess up with the white balance.
This is only if you are in Cinetone. However, if you are in S-Log, you have more chances of bringing it back to reality based on that.
How do you feel about the image itself, like coming out from the A7 IV?
A7 IV images straight off camera, it's pretty decent, but just have to be careful with the highlights. Let me check the shadows. You can see the details. I still can see details. So basically what you're looking for usually for a camera is that whether you can pull back the highlights.
Memory cards play a very big part on how the data transfers go from the sensor to your memory card. And yeah, it's unfortunate that we didn't get any CF Express Type A cards. I think that's the whole point of what the A7 IV was planning to be. It was trying to be a grown-up version of the A7 III, and it definitely has grown up, and I think that's why it's priced the way it's priced. I think I remember the A7 III being under 10,000, and now it costs 11,500 ringgit. So then that's just the body alone. And to give you a comparison of the FX3, which is a fully focused video camera, is 18,999 ringgit. And in between that is the A7S III, costing 16,599 ringgit. So would you get the A7S III as a video camera compared to the A7 IV?
A7S III versus A7 IV.
Now that we do have 4K 10-bit, kind of 422, kind of like what the A7S III could do. The A7S III, I think, can do 4K 120. What else is the difference of the A7S III and the A7 IV?
I would say if you shot photos and videos for events, A7 IV definitely.
Yeah, because it's a hybrid camera.
Yes,
it has
a hybrid. Yes.
The A7S III has a 24 megapixel sensor, I think, and this one comes with a new sensor of the 33 megapixel sensor. Yeah, what's your verdict? What's your verdict of the A7 IV
My
image
verdict
quality?
is, if you would like to try 10-bit, definitely A7 IV. However, if you are a serious professional, definitely the FX3, because you can get more latitude in terms of the dynamic range in the FX3. Comparatively, yeah, whether is it Cinetone for a quick grade, or the S-Log2 if you really want a heavy grade.
So dynamic range wise, always consider shooting S-Log2 or S-Log3. Cinetone for indoors, I guess, if you're trying to get detail of the sky and the buildings, like the examples we have here. Yeah, S-Log2, S-Log3 should be the ideal one. Right, which is one of the things where I do find it slightly annoying, just like the shutter speed. I'm talking to the camera, by the way. This is my friend Nat, and she's gonna be our muse today, mainly because I don't really have a subject, so thankfully here Nat is gonna be our subject for today. This is my 6th day of using the camera, and since I don't want to upset any of the photographers up there, today is going to be focused on stills photography and how it functions under low light or bright light like today. Thankfully, it's very sunny out today. But currently right now, I still am very much confused with like the menu system itself is doing, and how the shutter speed itself, it has a decimal point, and I don't know how to remove that. So instead of dropping down to 70 straight away, I have to go through every single decimal point. Maybe this is just my user error for not knowing more, but I've gone through every bit of the menu trying to figure out how to remove that, and I still have not found a way to remove it. I mean, one thing I do like about the shutter sound, it's much quieter than before. Yes, there is the ability to shoot in electronic mode, but I don't know, something about a shutter sound just sounds good. I'm shooting at f5.6 right now, ISO 100. I mean, just like any other camera, it does take a while for any user to get used to the systems, and I'm just being a big idiot for not actually spending more time through the menu and spending more time on the settings to familiarize myself with. I still can't get around the high burst mode. It still feels slow. Let's try a medium. I felt fast there, but still very much slower than the A7 III. Doesn't feel like 10 frames per second at all. One thing I do appreciate that it does have a E-front curtain shutter option, where you can either have the shutter closed when you have the camera off, or have it open if you want to clean the sensor. Something that wasn't around in the A7 III. So having that closed when you have it stored away should help you in keeping your sensors clean. Very minor upgrade, but makes a huge difference. And those are my overall thoughts about the A7 Mark IV. I mean, I'm pleased. I'm very pleased with what Sony has done, and I'm very much looking forward to what they do next. I still have a gripe with those issues when it comes to S&Q mode. Being able to only use V90 cards and above, and normal SD cards, they're not as compatible, or you won't get the full advantage of the specs that come with this camera. I've had a blast with the A7 Mark IV, and I'm kind of sad to let it go, but I've had a good 7 days with it. So would I upgrade to this camera from the A7 III, which I'm shooting with right now? I mean, camera gear, it never ends. You can always buy a new body, and then probably like another couple of years, something else will come out. So it never ends when it comes to rigging your equipment, and that's something I do want to get into more in this channel. But that's a different conversation I would like to have in the comments below. But yeah, do let me know, guys, what you guys want to see in all of these videos that we make. Forgive me if I'm mistaken some facts. I'm getting all of the information at my fingertips as fast as I can, or in the spot as much as I can. But yeah, thank you. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.